Hello again, this is Mike with Toy Train Tips and Tricks, and in this video we are taking a look at an oddball power supply for your AC trains. You don't run across these too often, but if you do, it might be a nice option for you and your layout. This is a Trawler model TAC 2001 twin power system for AC. You see, it's a twin throttle made by the Trawler company. This was based out of Chicago, and Trawler was in business in the 1970s up to the early 1980s. They primarily made DC power systems for HO and N scale, and they were known for being on the cutting edge of pulse and momentum type throttles for HO and N scale. One of the problems they had, though, was they developed a reputation for having some quality issues. Apparently, they had gotten in a bad batch of electronics, of the parts that they used for their transistor throttles, and they had a high fail rate for a while. And they did later correct the problem. They got through that batch of bad ones, but the damage was already done to their reputation. And so their main competitor, the big boys, MRC, Model Rectifier Corporation, basically they came out with their Tech 2 throttles to compete with Trawler, and because of their reputation of reliability, kind of put Trawler out of the business. Now, this AC power doesn't have all of those bells and whistles and gizmos that the HO and N scale had. This is it's a basic AC power supply, but really not so basic. There are a lot of really cool options with this throttle. First of all, you have a power switch lighting. You have your direction control for AC, which of course that just means it interrupts the power flow to the track so that your E unit can operate. You have this interesting feature here where you can control the voltage range. If you want to full up to 18 volts of output, you slide it to this direction. But let's say you're using a more modern, a can-motored locomotive, or say a Marx or a Lionel starter set locomotive with a smaller motor that uses less power. Or if you're switching, you can switch it over here and it maxes out around 9 volts instead of 18, interestingly enough. And you have a whistle/bell controller, but it's a slide switch that resets itself. Overload indicators, track voltage indicators for both throttles. Other interesting features, if you take a look at the back, and this is heavy, you have your track 1, track 2, and 4 different posts for AC accessories, which if you take a look here, you have lots of options for your voltage output on your accessory, your fixed voltage. 6 volt, 8 volt, 10 volt, 14, 18, and up to 24 volts of constant output depending on which post you connect. The other thing, and this is true of all of the Trawler throttles, is instead of having a post that you wrap around connection, these use male quick connects, female quick connects that attach to the post there. You get the right size female connect and pop it in there with your wire to make it. It makes a very solid connection with that. So let's take a look at this one and let's see what the actual operating range is, see if it's working properly. And let's get Mr. Voltmeter over here. If you can see it, let's put it on this side. There we go. All right, so let's go. Track number 1, I'm going to turn the voltage all the way up, and this says I could have as much as 18 volts. Let's see what actually is coming out. 16.6, okay, so a little bit less. And if I put it on the 9 volt option, it's actually putting out 11.1, a little bit more. Okay, well, let's see what track 2 does. First on the high setting, almost about 17, so a little bit more on that one. And on the low voltage setting, we get 11.8. So in the same range, and then on the accessories, let's see, A to D, does this really put out 24 volts? A to D, 23.9, close enough. Okay, so 24 volts. Okay, so to recap, you've got the cool power on-off button. You've got your direction control. You've got your voltage range, either 0 to 9 or 0 to 18. You can fine-tune the power output. You've got a whistle controller, overload indicator for each track, voltage indicator for each track, up to 24 volts output for your accessories, and the total rating, it is rated at 150 volt amps. So translating that into watts to make an apples-to-apples comparison, not knowing the power factor on this particular unit, you're going to come out somewhere in the 110 to 125 watts ballpark if you want to make an apples-to-apples comparison to a Lionel power pack. But for the price, these, again, can usually be found, when you can find them, at a show or online. Good condition. They come in $30 to $50. This one, actually, my father bought this one. I think he paid $10 for it because the guy didn't know what it was, and he was tired of hauling it around from show to show to show. Nobody showed any interest in it, but $10 later, it was his. So the Trawler TAC 2 2001, a decent option, something that you can try. It's got lots of really cool features on it, not something you run across very often, and it's inexpensive. And again, if you take this and through phasing transformers for accessories and other things, you can make this part of your empire. Again, take a couple of these or this plus several other transformers and equal out to the power available of the Lionel ZW at a bargain basement price. So again, I hope you like the video. Like it, share it, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and come back for our next video. Until then, this is Mike signing off for Toy Train Tips and Tricks. Happy railroading.